Nancy is a seasoned radio host, so a lot more together on the recording side than I am. She's been doing it for a long time. But Nancy has an interesting story. She has faced many adversities in her life over the years, and I would say is a survivor. And through her coaching business now, she shares her tools for success with her audiences and coaches people around getting over things that they've had to deal with. She has altered her career path many times based on situations in her life, and rather than letting things bother her, she has learned how to overcome those obstacles and turn them into successes. And that's what I find amazing about you, Nancy. And I wanted to just ask you to maybe share a little bit about your story that brings us to where you are now in the short version, because I want to spend so much time on what you're doing.
Well, thank you for that. And, you know, so many of us have early childhood hardships, and it might be of different kinds. It might be bullying, it might be divorce, it could be anything. Mm-hmm. For me, I had a series of things all before the age of 16. One was domestic violence in my family, and, you know, it's definitely not every childhood dream to call the police on your parents. That was not a dream of mine. I also had to watch my sisters and my mom kind of battle their own moments in life. My mom with breast cancer, my sisters with eating disorders, and it's really hard to be the person that's watching other people in pain. And then, you know, the kicker at the end there was at age 16, myself and my two sisters who are older than me, we were all diagnosed with an eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa, called RP. And that is a degenerative condition. So although I'm in my 40s now, you know, it's decreased so much so that it's hard to see faces, its colors are gone, definition is gone, and so there's that loss. And so that was really a lot to handle before 16. And then, you know that's kind of the early years, and then it goes on. But I'm not sure how far you want me to go.
Well, what I'm interested in is how you had, through dealing with your medical condition, your eye vision loss, and which I understand now is you know, pretty major. You've had some really interesting jobs along the way, and how you've been able to. From what I see, you worked in television, and I'm a pop culture person, so I love the fact that you were on Good Morning America doing work there, working with Entertainment Tonight. Were you there, just out of curiosity? See, I'm just like a pop culture junkie. Were you there when Mary Hart was there?
I was there when Mary was there. Yep.
He would have been the epitome of Entertainment Tonight, because that was its prime, right? Early on, it was amazing.
It really was. Yeah. You know, I got to witness Mary Hart at her best. I got to witness Joan London at her best. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it was just to see these icons was really amazing in my early career. Mm-hmm.
Then I think you were a singer, you were a realtor, and now a successful business owner. And all of this while dealing with a serious sight loss that was happening to you. So, my goodness, how did you do it all?
Well, you know, it's interesting because when dealing with a health condition, there's health conditions that are external, like you can tell somebody has a challenge, yes. And then there's the internal. And I don't know which one is better, because the external, in some ways, people know you might need help or might be aware of what you're going through, but the internal is a little bit trickier. So, you know, for example, reading the teleprompter, internally, I knew I had this eye condition, and it became harder to read, almost like the words were kind of flip-flopping, or I could only see so many words in a sentence. Okay. But I didn't want people to think that I couldn't read or that I couldn't do my job. It was just I couldn't see it. or when I was performing one time on stage, and it was a really dark venue, and that's when night blindness started to come into play. And
Mhm.
I remember literally almost stepping off stage, and it would have been like an 8-foot drop. And I'm so glad I didn't, but it made me very nervous. And then even in real estate, when I was a top producer in real estate in Southern California, did my job really well in terms of negotiating and just making sure that my clients were happy. But it became a little bit more tricky as my eye condition changed. And I was in real estate for 13 years. So as it changed, it became harder to see paint colors. It became
Sure.
harder to see cracks in the foundation, let alone ultimately having to give up driving because the lines on the road started to disappear. So it was tricky. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, so much so that I can't really imagine, because I've never had to go through it. But what it's done, I'm sure, is it's well, I know it's given you so much wisdom around things that people need help with, that they don't realize. Like for me, it's like, okay, somebody who's had the adversities that you've had brings to the table the fact that when somebody, like if you're coaching somebody and they're complaining about something that seems so trivial to you, really, because of what you've been through, and yet it's the most important thing in their world at the moment. So, and how you turn that around for them, or help them turn it around, I should say.
Well, pain is pain. Yeah, I mean, pain is pain, frustration's frustration, and it's interesting. I wonder sometimes what Nancy would be like if I had 20/20 vision. I wonder what that journey would have been in terms of compared to what I was on. But I actually, it's interesting when you have a health condition or when you go through any crisis in your life at all. You either become your worst best friend or you become your best friend. And you become your worst best friend when you allow negative self-talk to clutter your mind. You start doing toxic behaviors, and that's not treating yourself great. I think I became my best friend because I started to have like internal dialogue with myself of, it's okay, you're doing the best you can, or Nancy, they just don't understand, or they can't see what they can't see, which is what I can't see, right? And so I think for everybody in your audience, you have a choice to be your worst best friend or your best friend, and I hope that everybody goes that direction.
And that's a good lead in actually to talking a little bit about living full out. And on your website, you say that it is a way of viewing your world, your circumstances, your goals, and your life story as a springboard to success. And I'm just quoting from your website, because you say, anything is possible with the right mindset. Embrace it all and keep moving forward. So I have to ask you, because that's such a great philosophy, and it is all about your mindset. That's where it starts. Did you have a coach or guidance that brought you to this, or was that strictly from yourself that you just?
That is a great question. So I would say the inner workings, the inner compass of it all came from me. But I would definitely say that there were people in my life that guided me along. I remember when it became harder to see the computer screen. Nowadays, I look at the computer screen, it's just this blank white screen. But I remember back at a time I was using some low vision software called ZoomText, and the person who did low vision aid support said, you know what, Nancy, I think you should really learn this more advanced program called JAWS. And I was like, oh, no, I don't want to learn JAWS, because that means I'm getting blinder. I don't want to use the white cane, because then it's real that I'm losing my vision. But, the people that took a stand for me to learn that sooner than later, they really guided me in a positive direction. I was grateful for that. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time early on in my media career, I was working with a trainer, and he said to me, Nancy, you have this gift, that you can't see, but you have the gift of listening. Mm-hmm. And that was a true gift that he gave me. It kind of de-armed or, gave the power back to me that losing your vision is not a negative. It just means all the other five senses or four senses, I should say, get amplified. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you weren't there yet, obviously, yourself in realizing that. It took somebody to point that out to you, right? Which we take for granted when we have all of our senses. So that's really
I was going to say, and that's why when life is hard, I encourage everybody, don't just stay inside. Don't say no to every invitation. Don't become a hermit.
yes.
I want you to turn to people and tell them what's going on, because somebody could say one phrase to you that just tips the scale, takes the glass from being half empty to half full. But if you don't turn to those people, you never get that gift. You never get that statement.
And that was a big one. I mean, in my 7-step formula for creating business relationships that last, which I mentioned at the beginning, one of those 7 steps is to be a good listener. And you can't be a good listener if all you do is talk.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because what I have found in life is the greatest gift you can give someone is the opportunity to talk. I know we've all been there, right? We talk to a stranger and then they go on and on and on and on. Maybe you're on a plane or something.
Yes.
Well, that person was thirsty, like being in a desert, thirsty to talk.
Exactly.
And you gave them that gift to either vent or just express themselves. And so that's really what we shoot for in life, is just being heard.
I know, it's really interesting. I did actually a solo episode on my podcast about listening. And one of the things I talk about is, I don't know if you're aware of this, but an anagram for the word listen is silent. Did you know that?
Interesting. I did not. That's great.
And you think about it and you go, makes sense, right? And the other piece that you just mentioned about the person on the airplane, I love this when I've had a quote, in air quotes, conversation with somebody, and at the end of it, they say, that was so great talking to you. I really enjoyed our conversation. And basically, they just talked about themselves. You never said anything, but they're happy because they got to do that. And that makes me feel good when that happens.
Oh, yeah. My friends are notorious for doing that, because I'll get together with them in like 45 minutes and they're like, enough about me. What about you?
Yeah,
and I just let them ramble.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect. Okay, so the next piece, which is really, again, a good segue, is the elements of living full out, which you have on your website. And I don't know if you want to say the 5 elements, if you know them off by heart, but 3, 5, yeah. But there's 2 of them I want to talk to you about. So do you want to say them, or do you want me to just say them?
I'll let you just kind of pick out the 2 that you want. Okay. Everybody can go to livingfullout.com to see them all, but perfect. What are the 2 that you want to talk about?
Well, the 2 that come that speak to me, because I'm all about relationships and relationship marketing and building relationships, are community and gratitude. Community, when you live full out, you not only rely on your community, but you look for people to add to it, making your reach in the world grow. And I kind of feel like that's what happened between us, because you or someone in your organization reached out and was looking to build a new community or grow your own community. And I responded because I'm always curious and wanted to find out more about you and so forth. And so that's how relationships are created. So can you speak to that in your world and what you teach people?
Yeah, I think community is so critical. And I'm going to give 2 examples. One's a personal one and one's more of a general one. Let's just say that you have your home, right? Yeah. And you know you can clean your home. You can save money. You can clean it yourself, do it your way. But by bringing someone else in who that's what they do for a living, when they come in, they clean it, they might go deeper, more thorough, they might see things that you didn't see, and plus it sets you free to go do other things. It's a community. It means that you're allowing someone to come into your world and relieve some of that to-dos off your plate. Same goes for in my own life personally. my team are my eyes. You know,
Right.
they,
Yes.
when
Yeah.
I'm watching a movie and I'm sitting next to someone, they might tell me what's going on when words aren't being said, or somebody might read an email to me or describe a picture to me, or
Hmm.
you know, though it's helpful to have that community to be an extension of who we are, but we can't do everything. I mean, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, right? So you need a team, you need a tribe to really get yourself to where you want to go.
That it couldn't be more true. What I find about that though is that it takes time, and it's all about trust, right? It's all about trust. You have to trust the people around you to be part of that community, and that takes time, and that takes building relationship.
Absolutely. But to trust somebody, again, we talk about gifts, and you're going to go right into gratitude next. Well, trusting someone is a gift to both people, because if you can't trust people, then you kind of cap off a part of who you are. You're not able to be fully embraced in a relationship, right? You have to trust. But at the same time, when you say to someone, I trust that you can do this. You don't need to ask me. You don't need to show me. I know
Right.
you'll do it great. Then that person feels like, wow, this person believes in me. And then they're able to go on and have a successful moment.
I'm thinking about that in terms of just the example you used about the housekeeping, the house cleaner, whatever, because, that to me is like having someone who can clean your house well, and also having someone to look after your prized possession, like your children, if because you need to work or whatever. That is like, to be able to say, I know that you know it better than I do. You know how to clean this. You do it your way and it'll be perfect. Giving them that with your children is a little bit different, but knowing that people, giving them that sense of I can trust you is so important for them to do their job well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's okay to let somebody do it a different way,
Yes,
because maybe that different way is a better way. You don't know until you try.
that's really hard for control freaks like me though. So when I do that, I know I'm doing a good thing. So I get it. Okay, let's talk about gratitude. The moment you create a reason to be grateful and express that gratitude, your mood shifts. You feel connected to others, at peace with how things are right now, and ready to face your life with all its ups and downs. I think that, especially in this toxic world that we're in right now, being grateful for the small things and expressing gratitude is so important. It helps keeps us buoy us above. Is that a word? Buoy? Yeah, is that how you say it? Buoy us above the fray. So speak to that a little bit.
Absolutely. And again, I'll give kind of a general example and a personal one.
Okay.
So, like a general example of gratitude would be when you go and you're at a networking function, right? It's so easy to talk about the weather and talk about what do you do and all that. But you want to go deeper. You want to have a more meaningful moment of gratitude when you grab their hand. Wow, you have such a warm presence. Or as you talk to them, say, you know what, I'm so grateful that you shared with me your journey to how you became whatever they became. Or,
Mhm.
thank you for so much for giving me that resource. I can tell you're really a giving person. You
Mhm.
will never go wrong if you get compliments, right? And
Right.
then in my own personal world, I'm grateful for just even the little things. And again, if I was a fully sighted person, I don't know that I would have these moments. For example, when I go, let's say, to an office building to meet with somebody, I will take my Uber or my Lyft because I don't drive.
Mhm.
And then when I will ask that person, can you walk me into suite 320? Sure, no problem. They turn off their car. I grab their arm. They walk me to suite 320. That gives us more time to talk. With that driver, I had much more time to have a moment, to get to know them, to touch them, to say hi, than if I was just in the back of their seat on my phone, introverted. Do you
Mhm.
see what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
and then at the end, I will, as I get to my suite, I will say, thank you so much for walking me up. When they leave, they're feeling really good. They
Yes.
helped somebody out who needed it,
Yeah.
and they had more of a connection, because it can be kind of lonely if you're just driving people all day long. So again, gratitude can come in many different colors.
Yes. That is a great story. I can't help but ask though, have you ever had anyone say no, they wouldn't or couldn't or whatever?
Actually, no. Even the drivers who English is not their
Yes.
first language,
Yes.
I will cover my eyes and move my head back and forth that I can't see, and I'll ask in as little language as I can in English, can you walk me? Maybe with my fingers
Yes.
showing
Yes.
walking,
Yes.
and they're happy to do it. Like the thing is truly in life, just like how people want to be heard, people also want an opportunity to serve. And
Yes.
we look for that opportunity. And sometimes we don't get it. And at the end of the day, we feel a little bit deflated because we say, what's my sense of purpose? Like, what did I do today to make a difference? By
Mm-hmm.
doing something like that, they had a purposeful moment with me.
So I love that story. That's really great. So in your business now, tell me a little bit about how you operate. Like, I know you do a radio show and you actually do some live questions and so forth on your show. Is that where your clients, your coaching clients come from? Where do they come from?
Oh, they come from really all over, because at Living Full Out, we have the radio show, and so we get and it's national, so people catch our show whether it's live on the radio or whether it's in podcast mode, and
Okay.
they'll reach out to us that way. Either they call in during the 800 number when we're live, or they email us after the fact,
Okay.
or somebody might hear us do a presentation at a corporate event and then they follow with us later, or they might catch us on social media, because we're on 6 different social medias. So people come from all over. But again, it's kind of like what I said earlier. Pain is pain, frustration is frustration. And so we try to write articles that address a problem, but we try to give a solution. When people call into the radio show, I give them a few minutes to ask their question, but then I try to give them a solution. And that's what we do, but I want your audience to realize that in business, that's what we're about, right? The service is a solution to a problem. The product is a solution to a problem. So as long as you become the solution person, you'll never go wrong.
So true, isn't it? And being able to give the solutions goes back to listening and asking the right questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking, gosh, your website, and I do encourage people to go and look at your website because it is so full of great information. And you did a TV show. Are you still doing that? You're just focused on the radio show, right?
Well, the TV show we actually are in kind of a pause on, because that's actually being worked out. We're trying to get that with the network, so that's being elevated, which is a great thing.
Yes.
But the thing is the radio show is the primary focus, and then, like I said, all the other things we do at Living Full Out. Mm-hmm.
And so, what other things do you do? I mean, I see it all here. Amazing.
That is a fantastic question.
Yeah.
So, again, with social media, for example, like, we very rarely talk about ourselves or promote anything at Living Full Out. We're really big on educating, inspiring, entertaining. So a lot of times we will find people with inspirational stories and we'll share those. Mm-hmm. And that's just a way to inspire all of you. Or sometimes we get really silly and we throw out, it's National Left-Handed Day. Find that person with a left-handed.
Yeah. Are you left-handed?
No, I'm not. But what a day to find that left-handed person and celebrate that, right?
I'm that person. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Exactly. So we just do that differently. We do our blog differently. We're actually coming up shortly in the next month or so, we're launching Living Full Out University. So there's going to be coming up in the next, probably beginning of the year, we're going to have all these courses for people to take part in, communication courses, dating courses. So there's just so much brewing behind the scenes.
Well, that's exciting. And I also, again, it speaks to you needing a tribe to help you. You talk in terms of we do this, we do that. this is your show. This is you, but you have a team, right? That is,
Yeah, yeah. You know, the thing is I've never, although I may have started the vision, from day one, it was always a we, because my assistant, my first assistant and I, it was the two of us. We were a we. Then we got somebody else, and the three of us were a we. And now it's grown and grown and grown. And I even say a we are the listeners, right? Because the people who call in and ask questions, they're part of the we, because they stand up and be an example for everybody else listening. So I live in a we world, not an I world.
So true. So wonderful. So just as we begin the wrap up here, I see also, I want you to share with my audience, there's a free offer on your website, and I want you to tell people about it. And I will put also in the show notes how they can get it. But tell me about.
Oh, great. Yeah. You know, one of the things that we have found is that people long for balance. Whether they're trying to get their career where they want it to be, or they're dealing with family to-dos, or feeling like they're never quite getting to playing that guitar, right?
Yes.
Whatever it is.
Yes.
What we try to bring to our listeners and to our community at Living Full Out is balance. So if you go to livingfullout.com, right there on the homepage, it's free. It's 80 tips to bring balance into your life. And every one of these tips addresses the personal, the professional, the health, every aspect of our life.
That's awesome. I'm sure it'll be very useful for people. So thank you for that. And I think I still need to ask you, in your business today, and I know it's got many facets to it, what brings you the most joy in what you do?
Hands down, what brings me the most joy is watching people grow and succeed. And that is my team members that are Living Full Out, as well as my clients. It's really exciting to see somebody crack the code, right? They're working on something behind the scenes at Living Full Out, and they're like, I got it. Great. Next step, right?
Yes.
Or maybe a client, it finally starts to come together, or they have a winning moment. They're like, Nancy, I did it. And I'm like, great. You know, those are the moments I jump out of bed for. Those are the moments that I fall asleep and dream, you know, who's going to have a success tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And if you have, so one last thing I'd love you to share with our audience is, what's one thing that you would suggest or share with us that as a takeaway for them to that you think is, you know, the best business tip ever, or the, you know, as you deal more, I think, in personal life coaching than business coaching. Is that, am I right there or no?
Oh, no, I do both. We do both. At Living Full Out, we do business development and we do life coaching. And so it just kind of depends on the need, but we definitely do both.
Okay.
What I would say as a final thought, so it's interesting. Every year I pick kind of my mantra word for the year. Okay. And my mantra word for this year was believe. I believe that one day there could still be a cure. I believe that, you know, Living Full Out will achieve all it wants to do. I believe in things. And I just want to leave your audience with the challenge to figure out, what is your mantra word? What is one word that you can turn to on those hard days? Example being, one of my clients, his word was rehab. He wanted to rehab his entire life, his relationships. He wanted to stop drinking. He wanted to rehab his work. Rehab was his word. Another client, it was health. She wanted to stop putting off her health and make it on the front burner, you know, and so health was her word. So I just encourage your people to figure out, what is that word, and that way you have something to turn to, because not every day is perfect for me. But on those hard days, I can say, Nancy, you believe. Don't forget, you believe. That is my word, and it resonates with my core. So you want to pick that word that you're really passionate about, and all of that leads you to living a life full out.
Lovely. That's a great way to end. And I thank you so much for being my guest today. And I will make sure that my audience has all your connections and information in the show notes. So thank you again, and we will stay connected.